Paint Care is all about keeping it simple for Oregonians. They make recycling leftover paint easy with convenient locations like your local paint store. And Paint Care has 3 simple rules for painting smarter and reducing waste. 1, you buy the right amount of paint for the job. 2, you use up what's left. And 3, recycle the rest. And you can do that by visiting paintcare.org/3 simple rules to learn more or find a paint drop-off site near you. Sandwiches are versatile. You can eat them anywhere at any time of day, and it always feels right. And though there are so many places in our city that make top-notch sandwiches, when you really want one, and maybe it's just me talking here, it always feels like I'm trying to remember who even makes sandwiches, what kind of sandwich I even like, or what even is a sandwich. So today on CityCast Portland, we're talking with Willamette Week and Portland Mercury food writer Andrea Damewood about where to get the best sandwiches in town. From chopped to hot, she's given us her top recommendations, and we're not only hearing from Andrea, we're also hearing from you, our sandwich-loving listeners. It's Thursday, October 10th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. In your expert opinion, what are the key components of an exceptional sandwich? Like, what do you think? And also, crucial follow-up, do you consider wraps sandwiches, or are you like me and think they're just cold, sad-ass burritos?
Okay, first of all, don't come for my chicken Caesar wrap. Like, I don't know if I need to consider it a sandwich, but I do consider it a delicious lunch.
Okay.
When done well. There's a Mexican food cart on 12th and Hawthorne, Fernando's, I think, and they make like a chicken Caesar. You know, it is a burrito adjacent thing, but they put the chicken Caesar in there. They grill the chicken on the hot grill. I absolutely love a chicken Caesar wrap, but I'm also having perhaps a regression right now.
I feel like so many people are just like, I'm not going to listen anymore. Like on either side is what I'm saying. I feel like that was the most controversial thing I could have asked straight off the bat. Is a wrap a sandwich? But 2 pieces of bread, not a wrap, is what we're talking about, right?
Yes, we can agree on that.
Okay. What are the key components then of an exceptional sandwich?
I think that it's all about balance. What that boils down to is you need the right bread for the job. There are so many hot sandwiches or juicy sandwiches that completely fall apart because the bread gets too soggy. There are cold sandwiches that completely spit out all of the ingredients that exist inside the sandwich because the bread is too hard. And then from there, it's the right balance of ingredients inside. You need fat, you need acid, you need some crunch, you need texture. And so
texture for sure, yeah.
Side note, but just personally for me also, I'm a good cook, but for whatever reason, I think that a sandwich that someone else makes for me, be it at a restaurant or at
always
home,
better.
Always tastes better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if it's also like maybe an element of surprise. Like I wouldn't have added so much peanut butter.
I love this. You're like, we just need a little bit of magic, which is, I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't think it.
Yeah, like I'm just going to bite in there.
And you're like, is this a basil mayo? I wasn't expecting that. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that is always a key component for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's start with the basics. Like, where can someone get a solid turkey, tuna, ham, just like a cold sandwich?
For like just a very basic cold sandwich, meat cheese bread comes to mind. They've got a really great turkey sandwich. It's not going to be as basic as like, I want turkey and cheese and lettuce. And if that were what people were looking for, honestly, Grand Central does a pretty good job. They've got a decent bread. They've been around forever, and there's a reason why.
Yeah, I love the cold tuna sandwich. And I keep hearing that, like, is it Picone's?
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly has, like, somebody just stated it might be the best tuna sandwich in Portland. I haven't had it. I can't say anything about it. Have you tried it? Do you know? Because it also seems like a lot. Like when I saw it, I was like, this is huge.
Yeah, I have been. I actually live in North Portland myself. And so I'm walking distance to that cart.
It's at the Chill and Fill, if you're wondering what cart.
Yes.
Yeah, where it's
Picone's
at.
Quality Deli. Yeah, lots of really good sandwiches in general. And they are huge. You can definitely split one sandwich with two people or get two sandwiches because they look really good and share each half so that you can both try it and then think that you're going to eat just half and then eat the whole sandwich and then not feel good for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm. Well, we participated in Sunday Parkways, which is a pretty cool thing the city of Portland puts together. And one of the questions we asked people when they came up to our booth was what their favorite sandwich in town was.
Oh.
And we spoke to someone named Alyssa from Piedmont, and she's talking about a vegan club at Ben and Esther's in Alberta.
My favorite sandwich is definitely at Ben and Esther's. It's an all-vegan deli, which is very rare to find. And they have a chicken bacon club that's delicious. They also have a sandwich that Lizzo, yes, that Lizzo, created, and you can get it there, and it's delicious as well.
Have you had it?
I haven't. I didn't know there was a Lizzo sandwich, and that makes me very interested.
I always forget. I think she's vegan.
She says she is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about another thing I've noticed in the past few years is that Portland has gotten into a really grinder, sub genre. They're really into it. And if you're listening and you're like, oh, it's a grinder sub, I just found out, or hoagie, it's basically where you live. It's what you call it. And I feel like most of the West Coast, we just call it a sub. This happens to me often where I really want a sub, but I want it like the classic Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Which are weirdly hard to find done well, which doesn't make sense because it seems like it would be easy, but it's not. So I'm curious if you know who makes the best one. What are your picks?
I have to be really careful with an Italian sub because it will give me heartburn if I don't watch out. But I do indulge in Italian subs, and I'm going to take a moment here to shout out the Taste Tickler. On Northeast Broadway. All of their sandwiches are a delight, but they make a pretty solid Italian. And Picone's is another place that makes a really excellent grinder. I know he's, hand cutting all of that stuff in-house. I know he makes some of those meats himself.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know that they claim that they also make their own bread in-house, and I'm like, in that little, cart, how are they making all this fresh bread? It's crazy.
I mean, they sell out.
Yeah.
And then another place to keep your eye on is Dimo's a Pizza. They actually have a really good sandwich menu, but it only runs during lunch hours, and they rotate their sandwiches all the time. So sometimes they do an Italian, other times it's whatever. I mean, I've had a really excellent chicky parm sandwich. They'll do a meatball sandwich. They had a BLT that I missed and I'm really sad about. One of my favorites that I've tried actually sort of gets into the chop sandwich terrain as well at Dos Hermanos. They do an Italian chop sandwich, and I actually like that really well for me and my tender little heartburn-prone self because
Why is that?
It lightens it up. And it just feels
because they just cut it up for you? What is it about that?
I think maybe there's a higher lettuce ratio or something that is just toning down the 3-inch stack of meat that a lot of Italian grinders involve, which bless. But yeah, so I think that that's personally one of my favorites.
Well, I'm curious, what your favorite cold sandwich is in town.
I think the first one would be the TCB at the Laurelhurst Market. It's turkey and bacon. I'm a sucker for turkey and bacon. It's on Como bread, and it's got white cheddar, red onion, zucchini pickles, arugula, and herbed mayo. And what makes that sandwich so good is that balance. The zucchini pickle is actually a little bit sweet, a little bit tart. Again, I don't love sweet, but it works really well here because it's got sort of the sharpness of the red onion and the zing of the arugula to really balance it out. And the herbs and the mayo give a nice fat with the bacon, and the turkey is cooling. It's all just really a solid sandwich.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
So the bacon's hot and toasted bread. Is that a cold sandwich to you? Like a club?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think in spirit, that is a cold sandwich.
It's a spirit. It's a cold sandwich because it's not like a meatball sub or something.
Right. It's not
Or like
coming
a
out
Reuben or
piping
something.
hot. And you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
serve it at room temperature. In fact, a lot of the times it is room temperature. Like the toasting of the bread is not to warm it, it's to fortify the bread from its juicy insides. And the bacon, depending on when they cooked it or when they get it out, just as good room temperature, if not hot. So yeah, I take a club sandwich as a cold sandwich.
Okay. I do have to say, though, that one of my favorite turkey clubs is actually from a place that I always call out on the show. It's Slim's. They have a really good club.
Oh.
Have you ever tried it?
I always get the BLT. I've never gotten the club.
The club's good.
But for the same reason, because it's like $7 for a really good BLT, even in the wintertime. I don't get it.
All right, well, let's take a quick break here. And when we return, the hot, the grilled, and the griddled. This episode of CityCast Portland is brought to you by BetterHelp. We all know October is the season for wearing masks and costumes, but some of us, we feel like we wear a mask and hide more often than we want to, like at work and social settings, around our family. But therapy can help you learn to accept all parts of yourself. People find it helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, because masks should be for Halloween fun, not for our emotions. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, but you can also switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So take off the mask with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/CityCast today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/CityCast.
Hi, this is David Plotz of CityCast. Have you thought about a gift for yourself this year? One that has the power to help you grow and learn and become a better version of yourself? Give yourself the gift of language by getting Babbel. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by language experts, Babbel gets you talking a new language in 3 weeks, because talking is the key to really knowing a language. And that's how Babbel approaches it. It's designed for real conversation. So I have a trip to France planned with my girlfriend. Was it inspired by the Olympics? Yes, it was. And it's given me the chance to revive my old high school French. And it's so fun to catch back up with the vocabulary I'd forgotten, to remember all the food. For example, I'm in a lesson on ingredients, so I'm going to make crepes with butter and sugar. Avec sucre et de beurre salé, on va se régaler. We're going to have a feast. They learned this great new French expression too. J'en ai l'eau à la bouche. That means I have water in the mouth. That means it's mouth-watering. Love it. Love French. Anyway, Babbel gets you talking, and studies from Yale and Michigan State University and other leading universities prove that it works. So here is a special holiday deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast, spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Let's talk about hot or grilled sandwiches. Like, what are your favorite spots?
I've been sitting on saying the name of my favorite sandwich place until now because, like, I think they really do excel in the hot sandwich department, and that's the Baker's Mark.
Oh, is that one with the special bread? It's like San Francisco style. What is it called? Like
Dutch Crunch.
Dutch Crunch. Could you explain what Dutch Crunch is to someone? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know about this.
So the Dutch Crunch is like a normal sandwich roll, but then on the top, it's got like additional crackly texture. And sometimes they'll do different herbs or like jalapeno or things like that to, like, you know, add flavor to the bread itself. But overall, it just has to do with this like texture introduction on the top of the roll. But it's just really delicious because it's somehow crunchier in a way that still doesn't cut the roof of your mouth or mess with the structure of the sandwich. I don't know what they do, but they do it well, and I love her.
Well, what's your favorite hot sandwich from Baker's Mark?
I get the turkey with provolone and bacon.
Andrea, I think you like turkey.
I do, but They also do, they have a hot Italian.
What's a hot Italian?
Yeah.
Oh my, I cannot. I was about to just Google hot Italian and I was like, probably not the best.
Not on the work computer.
Not on the work computer. Sandwich is what I need to end that with.
One of my favorite sandwiches when I worked in Northwest was literally called the Italian Stallion. They have a hot pastrami that's also really good.
Baker's Mark?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. I grew up in East LA, and I feel like LA has a very distinct version of the pastrami sandwich that I can't find anywhere else. And it's like the most ridiculously thinly sliced pastrami on like, kind of like a sub or a hoagie roll that's toasted and it's just mustard and like slim pickles and, a good chunk of pastrami. It's so simple, but it's one of those things where I thought that was a pastrami sandwich. So then when I went to like a restaurant, like that has like their own cured pastrami and I had their pastrami, I was so overwhelmed. And I was just like, what is this? This bread is so hard.
I haven't had the LA pastrami. Honestly, I feel like the most Oregon pastrami that there is like Sandwich on Burnside, who also actually I've had their tuna melt, and their tuna melt is excellent if you are in the hunt for a tuna sandwich.
Ooh, okay.
But Sandwich really just does the most. They smoke their pastrami in-house. They're stacking it high. The owner, Melissa, is the biggest Cubs fan in the world, and is just a total character and does a great job of really representing for the LGBTQIA community. So love Sandwich.
Oh, I'll try it. I do think that like though most pastrami sandwiches that I've had up here are just like really good and like hearty in a way that I'm overwhelmed by. But I noticed that something that is really popular in town are Reubens, and that's actually, I didn't really have a Reuben until I moved up to the Northwest, which is crazy because I grew up in a neighborhood that had a lot of Jewish delis. Like I went to Cantor's, I went to like a bunch of places. But yeah, I want to play something from Ian, who lives in Southwest. This was a really popular answer. Like several people mentioned this Reuben from this specific location. So I just want to play his clip real quick.
Definitely Reuben sandwiches. There's several places that have good ones.
Do you have a favorite spot?
Goose Hollow Inn. I'm wearing a Goose Hollow shirt. Goose Hollow Inn has a very good Reuben. They even have a vegan one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I think I might like the vegan Reuben more than I like a regular Reuben.
Yeah.
Just because, again, I am once again overwhelmed by the thickness of this meat. Because it's so salty and like rich, and I'm used to a very, very thin version of that. But the vegan tempeh, it's usually vegan tempeh Reubens are so delicious. Like I don't know if anyone knows out there like a good vegan Reuben, like I'm down. Another listener, Aaron from Multnomah Village, also has a spot that he wants to shout out for a Reuben, and I thought it was kind of unusual. I've not, you probably have heard of this restaurant, but I was like, okay. And he swears by this Reuben.
My favorite sandwich is the Reuben at Elmer's. And I think Elmer's is, for better or worse, my favorite sandwich spot. Because I grew up going to Elmer's, so I have a lot of great family memories there. And I think, like, you can't really be an Oregonian until you're, like, hungover at Elmer's the next morning, like, trying to wolf down, like, a delicious sandwich or a German pancake, whatever floats your boat.
You grew up here, Elmer's.
Elmer's, man. I mean, he's not wrong. I don't know if I've ever had a sandwich at Elmer's, though.
What do you normally have at Elmer's?
Oh, it's been years, but, just like a pretty basic pancake, hash brown, eggs, bacon
Breakfast.
kind of kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need an egg. If I'm going to be hungover and in a breakfast spot that I've had to wait to sit down in, we're getting eggs.
Elmer's is like, I feel like it's this region's Denny's, like Elmer's and like Sherry's. Except Sherry's has better pies.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite Reuben in town?
Well, I was going to say, I think what you were pointing towards with like sort of being overwhelmed kind of gets back to that issue of balance. Like, how do you balance out a sandwich? And with some Italian subs and with some Reubens, they're just too much. I don't often hunt down a Reuben myself. Like, if I want pastrami, I'm probably going to go to Sandwich. And they just do a hot pastrami.
Are there any other hot sandwiches that you recommend?
I love Snappies also. any of their hot sandwiches are actually going to be just really great. Like, choose your favorite filling, and they're gonna wrap it up in their little Snappies paper, and you can get curly fries on the side. And what makes Snappies so great is that they're just like cut the BS, no pretense, like deli. Like, they're just gonna make you a good hot sandwich, and it will cure what ails you.
We have a listener who also loves Snappies, and Eva from Arbor Lodge, actually, her favorite sandwich is what is a seasonal sandwich that they have called the Thanksgiving sandwich.
Have you been to Snappies? It's in the weirdest little thing next to ramen and Nong's Khao Man Gai. The last time I was there, I got the Thanksgiving sandwich, so it's been a minute, but they had like a thematic Thanksgiving sandwich that had everything and like turkey dressing too. You know, like it was a little much, but also delicious.
It's worth keeping your eye open this time of year for some of those Thanksgiving sandwich style specials. I live in North Portland and went out of my way. Every year, Meat Cheese Bread does a Thanksgiving sandwich special, and it's barely a sandwich because it's like open face, and it's more of a knife and fork affair, but they make it on stuffing bread pudding, and then they put the hot turkey down and some like cranberry aioli and all of that business, and it is truly decadent and so delicious. I need a lie down.
That sounds really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because like you hear it and you're like, that sounds like a lot, but it's so good. And I think it's something about the cranberry or like sweetness aspect to the sandwich that you're talking about that kind of like brings it together, because that's what happened for me.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a huge, if it tilts too sweet, I don't love it, but they mix the cranberry with the aioli, and so it really brings out kind of the sharpness of the cranberry along with the sweet. And so it gave it a lot of that, you know, gravy, turkey, stuffing bread pudding, all of that sort of fatty goodness, some counterpoint that it really needs. And it makes it a really special sandwich.
Well, I want to do last category, which is going to be, I think, the most important sandwich of the day, which is the breakfast sandwich. Which are your favorite breakfast sandwiches in town?
I've had a chance to have the new breakfast sandwich at Memoir Cafe, which is the collaboration between Portland Cafe and Heyday and Mata on Alberta. And they do something just called the Sando. And you can add fish sauce bacon or other proteins, but I got the fish sauce bacon, to a Sando that's on a milk bun from Heyday, with hash browns, American cheese, fried egg, and fish sauce. And it is so good.
It looks so savory.
Yeah.
It has American cheese. Yeah, that's so cool.
It's a fusion breakfast sandwich of your dreams.
Yeah.
Another sandwich that I like is just going to Bernstein's Bagels and getting whatever they've got going on as far as a seasonal schmear or bagel with lox or one of their sandwiches, and calling that a really solid breakfast.
Well, I want to share a listener's pick. Chad from the Hayhurst neighborhood has a sandwich from Maplewood Coffee and Tea in Southwest. I don't know if you've heard of that, but let's play the clip.
My go-to sandwich is, I don't know if you can count it as a sandwich. It's the special cheese slipper at Maplewood Coffee and Tea.
Okay. What's going on there?
You can put it, it's like a ciabatta kind of like thing, and it's always got cheese, and he'll throw like fresh heirloom tomatoes and chilies on it, and then put an egg on it. It's amazing.
Can I share my two favorite sandwiches right now with you?
Please.
Breakfast sandwiches. Okay, so there is the St. John's Beer Porch Food Carts. There is this cart called Two of Us, and they have some of the best breakfast sandwiches. Like whatever is going on there, anytime I get it, I'm always just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just like always surprising how good it is. But the other one that like right now, it's a very specific sandwich that I'm obsessed with is Street Disco in Southeast is doing like an elevated McDonald's McGriddle. And it might be like right now, like my favorite breakfast sandwich in Portland. It's so good. If you don't know what a McDonald's McGriddle is, it's the bread is infused with like maple syrup. So it almost tastes like two flapjacks, but it doesn't have that consistency. It is like a McMuffin, like a English muffin, but it's so, do you know what I'm talking about, Andrea?
I do. Yeah.
It's so good. And then because it's street disco and they're like a really good restaurant, their eggs are insanely fluffy. And like the sausage is like the most delicious sausage. Of course, it has like flavor. You can taste like fennel and rosemary.
Yum.
And then plus you've got that maple kind of soaked bread. Oh my God, it's so good.
I've been to Street Disco for dinner multiple times because it is so good. And I would trust them with brunch with my whole heart and soul. I think they would do an amazing job. And it sounds like they do.
And then they also do like just like the classic, like a French omelet or, whatever. So good. But cool. Do you have any like shout out or like honorable mentions of any sandwich that you weren't able to talk about?
I think one of the sandwich categories that I didn't get to shout out that is just truly important. There's a couple. One would be tortas and the other would be banh mi.
What's your favorite banh mi in town? Because I feel like there's a few up here, Where do you go for yours?
I think On Yuen is always going to be the classic.
Which is really close to Street Disco, by the way. It's like walking distance.
FOPO, man. Just go gorge.
Yeah.
House of Banh Mi is also another fantastic classic. And then I might be your nightmare at the movie theater that's near the Best Baguette on 82nd and Powell, because I like to drive through and get a baguette and then smuggle it in and just eat my baguette in the movie while reclining.
So it's like real loud because it's all crunchy.
It's all crunchy. It might have some, if I'm getting the pate, there might be some smells.
Have you been to Bin Min? I hear they have a really good banh mi.
They do. I haven't had it in a long time, but they have a really solid banh mi. My friend used to live across the street from it, and I don't know how she didn't gain 50 pounds.
Well, what about torta? What's your favorite torta?
I really like Guero's. Might be the obvious answer since it's just boom right there on 28th and Burnside, but it really is a super solid, especially the hamburguesa, which is kind of a hamburger, kind of a torta. Really enjoyed that one. And then there used to be a cart on 82nd, but I think it just got replaced with a different cart that was called Super Torta. And they really had a super torta.
Nice. I feel like we need like a special episode on just banh mi's and just tortas because it's like their own world. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like its own.
Do you have a go-to torta?
I didn't grow up eating tortas, so I'm kind of like exploring torta world with everybody else in Portland. And I agree that Güero has a really good torta, and I've also had a really good torta at like Beto's, which is this cart right here. They have like the Milanese, that's what it's called, and it's like chicken fried or something.
Really
like,
breaded, yeah.
Yeah, and it was so good. But it's one of those things where you have to share it with someone, and it's just like the texture and stuff, like really crunchy lettuce, and there's avocado, and then there's tomato, and it's just it all just works so well together.
I'm hungry.
I know. I'm like, should I go to Picone's? Like, I think they're opening up at 5 now. So I'm like, maybe, because they used to close at 3. And I'm like, no, maybe I should go check it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for hanging out and going through some of your favorite sandwiches. Maybe you could come back and we can talk banh mi's.
Anytime.
And now for some events happening this week. Every Thursday on the show, we like to bring you a few recommendations to help you plan your weekend. And here's what we got. All of this month, Wednesday through Sunday, the Clark County Fairgrounds in Ridgefield, Washington is putting on an interactive and horror-themed drive-in theater experience they're calling Cinema of Horrors. Now, you guys, this is actually kind of crazy. It's like a haunted house meets a drive-in movie. So while you're watching the screen, people are just out and about trying to scare the crap out of you. And they're not just showing a full gamut of horror classics like Friday the 13th, Scream, and Halloween. Every week, they also have a special family night where they tone down the scary and show films like Hocus Pocus or Ghostbusters. I'm just hearing about this. Go check it out. You do need to get tickets beforehand, and they are going fast. If you want a more traditional haunted house experience, the Season of Screams is happening every weekend through November 2nd at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum, plus your entrance fee gets you into their Halloween market. And this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m., the city is opening its archives. It's free and open to the public. It's one of the few times you're able to snooper around the City of Portland Archives and Record Center. I don't know, it sounds like a good time to me, but I am a nerd. For even more local news and events, sign up for our daily newsletter, Hey Portland. You'll find all links on our website, portland.citycast.fm/events. We'll also throw a link in the show notes. Well, that's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.